Curve Servers, The Tales of Little Wino, Episode 6. We coming to you unedited and raw. No cut on this one. Whatever happens, that's what happens. Now, we're going to pick up on the Little Wino story. Little Wino was just yelling, Spoonie G. Watts, and none of us understood why. We was all confused. See, Little Wino was always a little fuck up. Yeah, he was always a little fuck up. When we was little, it wasn't nothing for his ass to get in some trouble. The problem is he just never got his ass whooped. Yeah, I tried to tell y'all, if you go back and understand the development of Little Wino. See, he's a brat. He's spoiled as fuck. He never got his ass beat. Since we was kids. Let me tell you, I got one whipping for you. Yeah. Our whole life, I seen Little Wino get his ass whooped one time. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. See, like I said, he chose to live with his auntie, and he would live with his mom sometime. Most of the time, he lived with his auntie. Now, we got to introduce his auntie. That's my Aunt Minnie. See, my Aunt Minnie was Mary's sister, and I'm still not sure who was the oldest, but it doesn't matter. And like I always said, Aunt Minnie always had permission to put hands on Aunt Mary's kids. But that wasn't her style, really. No. She was sweet as pie. Everybody loved Aunt Minnie. But her husband, my Uncle E, see, Uncle E, he was one of the most stand-up dudes I knew. To this day, he's probably top 5 of just stand-up dudes I know I've ever met in my life. Uncle E is that stand-up dude, right? He's that stand-up dude. And he's the only person I ever seen put hands on Little Wino. Let me break this down. See, not only did Aunt Minnie have permission to put hands on Edie or Little Wino if necessary, or Jax if necessary. It just wasn't her style. But also, Uncle E had position. Yeah, he had position and he had permission. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, that wasn't his style either. Yeah, they wasn't the type of beat the shit out of your kids. No, they didn't beat on the children. That wasn't their style. Right? Matter of fact, Aunt Minnie and Uncle E had a son. We're going to introduce Face. Yeah, my little cousin Face. Now, Face was younger than all of us, right? So he never got involved with most of this curve server crap. He just was what we call the fly on the wall. He's a witness. Don't let him testify, y'all. Keep him away. Now, why is his name Face? That's a great question. My Aunt Minnie had a best friend. Her name was Doris. I could be wrong, but ever since I was a kid, we used to call her Aunt Doris too. But Aunt Doris used to call him Face. So we all called him Face. I assume she liked his face. And to this day, his name is Face. Now, back to the story. Uncle E, he was a smooth dude. You know, he always played video game with us. He always had to, on TV, select TV. We always had the new movies and stuff. It was the place to be. Aunt Minnie house and Uncle E house was the place to be. They was my neighbors. So I was always over there. I lived with them. My Aunt Minnie raised me practically. So I'm very familiar. And this one day, because it's gonna take a lot for Uncle E to put hands on you. Because he's not a put hands on you type dude. He too smooth. He used to be in a band type nigga. Yeah, he used to be in a band. I don't know if he played bass or he was a singer. He had the big afro. He was one of them type of niggas. In his prime. So he wasn't a put hands on you type nigga. He usually talk a little shit, tell you what to do, and we kind of listen. Because none of us was bad kids like that pushed the boundaries. Outside of Little Wino. Yeah, little Wino's going to push the boundaries. And so, now, some of his uncles, yeah, they'll put hands on him, and he knew not to push the boundaries with them. But Aunt Minnie and Uncle E, yeah, they was pacifists. They was very cool, laid back. So little Wino, he'd try to test the boundaries sometime. Yeah, he tested the boundaries a little too far one day. Aunt Minnie was upset. I'm not going to tell you what he did. She ran into the room and slammed the door. Uncle E came out to the living room. He said, Lil Wino, get your ass over here. Lil Wino got up, walked over there all cool. He said, you better watch your mouth and watch who you're talking to. And he grabbed Lil Wino by his arm. You know that old one when they snatch your arm up in the air? He snatched his arm up in the air so his ass can be exposed. Yeah, that's an old school move. Yeah, Uncle E grabbed Lil Wino by the arm and he pulled his arm in the air so he can have that ass exposed. Yeah, and see, in the other hand, he had a leather belt. Yeah, and he got to welling on Lil Wino ass. What the? What the? What the? Let's take a walk. See, I know what y'all thinking. Oh my God, he abused Little Wino. No, he whooped that ass. Little Wino needed that ass whooped. See, nobody ain't never whooped that ass. Uncle E, he wore Little Wino ass out. He wore Little Wino ass out. I told y'all this is raw and uncut. I'm not cutting nothing. I'm not editing this. This is what it is. But let me tell you something. After about, 7, 8, 9, 10 strokes, Uncle E dropped him. He said, now go sit your ass down. Let me tell you something about this story. The whole time, Lil Wino never flinched. Nah, Lil Wino never cried. Uncle E, stroke 1, stroke 2, stroke 3. Watch your goddamn mouth, boy. I'm going to beat that ass. You hear me, boy? One of those. Probably about 7, 8 strokes. I don't know. He beat that ass. Lil Wino never cried. He said, go sit your ass down. He came back and sat on the floor with us. And he looked at us. And he put his hands over his eyes. And he started to cry. But he held it in. But you could see him he was trying to let it out, but he was holding it in. See, to this day, I don't know if he started to cry because he got his ass whooped, or if he was just embarrassed that he finally got his ass whooped. And we all saw it. We're like, yeah, you finally got your ass whooped. Because all of us, we've all had our ass whooped before. This was nothing new. This is before all this child abuse and all that bullshit that exists today. Yeah, before all that. It was nothing for multiple kids on the block to get hands put on them in front of everybody if you got out of line. That's why a lot of us was very respectful, including me. My mama going hands, knees, feet, the whole 9 yards. So I know to watch my mouth. See, one time, it was the summer. We was all hanging out. And I made a big mistake. I made a mistake that I learned to regret. See, we was all going to the beach this day. I want to say it was maybe towards Memorial Day, or it wasn't 4th of July. It might have been 4th of July. Around one of those weekends where it was a popping weekend. And I told you we went to the beach a lot. And everybody's mountain, we're going to go to the beach. It's all well known. Aunt Mary's taking everybody to the beach and everybody's getting ready to go. Now this day, it was either the 1st or the 15th. Probably the 1st because it's close to the 4th of July. Or maybe it was the 15th. I don't know, but that's when people used to get their county check. The county check is dropped. Everybody finna get a little cash around the neighborhood. Everybody mama on the county. So everybody about to get a little $40 here, $30 here, depending on what your mama about to put in your pocket. I'm downstairs fucking around with the kids, waiting for my mama to call me so I can get some money put in my pocket. Now, there was this word going around the neighborhood. This word was called strawberry. So y'all don't know what that means. Back in the days, you had these prostitutes. And prostitutes are hookers. We all know that. But then with the evolution of crack, and go back to the beginning of the Curve Servers series, Curve Servers episode 1. With the evolution of crack, a lot of these hookers up and down the boulevard started selling themselves for crack, for drugs. This became the evolution of this new type of hooker called a strawberry. And this was a word that was tossed around among certain parts of the community. Look at that strawberry. She's a berry. Because crack was new to a lot of people. And as we sitting around as kids, fucking around, doing whatever we doing, talking shit to each other, Edie's talking a little shit to me. And I called her a strawberry. I said, whatever, or shut up, strawberry, or whatever it was, I called her a strawberry. She said, she was offended. She said, I'm going to tell your mama. She marched straight to my house. Boom, boom, boom. Auntie Gaggy, he called me a strawberry. Yeah, that's what happened. She knocked right on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Auntie Gaggy, he called me a strawberry. What? Get your ass in here. Did you call her a strawberry? But mama, boop, 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 boop. Get your ass in the room. The fuck's wrong with you, nigga? And Edie skips off. Thank you, auntie. And everybody went to the beach but me. But I'm not upset over that still. We're going to get past that. See, these were the type of rules we grew up under. And little Wino, nah, he avoided a lot of those rules. And so to watch him get hands put on him by Uncle E, oh, it was a treat for us to see. Although it was kind of sad because nobody wants to see, we know, nobody wants to see nobody cry. And we have never seen little Wino cry to that point because he's not a crier by nature. You know, he's kind of a sick ass nigga. So he just doesn't cry for no reason. And whooping his ass, that ain't a good enough reason to make him cry. To this day, I believe he cried because he saw us looking at him like, yeah, you got your ass whooped. And he was embarrassed. I still don't think he cried for them goddamn lashes he took. Nah, he too sick of an individual for that. Trust me, way too. He walked away from an ass whooping and sat down and never flinched. Wasn't crying or anything. Now I'm sure that shit heated up. As he sat there, that heat kicked in on that ass, yeah. But I think he cried more from us looking at him like, yeah, you got your ass whooped finally. Because I ain't never seen him get touched. You know, and he got some crazy uncles. So I remember this one time, let's introduce one of his uncles. We was in Compton. Staying for the summer. I told you we used to stay over his mama house for the summer, many, many summers, over in Mona Park. On 119th, 120th, different streets. Then we was on 118th this year. Most of the time they stayed on 118th, I believe. And Edie and little Wino had these instruments. Then Edie had a clarinet, and little Wino had a saxophone. Yeah, there were some spoiled ass little kids. Yeah, one had a clarinet and one had a saxophone. And neither one of them can play at a lick, you know. But then they had this uncle. I believe his name was Uncle Lonnie, you know. And Uncle Lonnie was like a big old, tall, kind of cut up, buff, crazy ass uncle. That's what he was. He was Crazy Lonnie, and right. And he pulled up. And he came in the house. He's like, hey, what y'all up to, boo? And they like, Uncle Lonnie. You know, everybody excited to see him because he's crazy Uncle Lonnie. I mean, we used to be at the beach, and Steel Will and Uncle Lonnie is wrestling. I'm talking about like silverbacks, like alpha males, trying to slam each other. And he picked Steel Will up. And slammed him on his back. And that day I knew. I said, ooh, Uncle Lonnie, he a silverback. But let's bring it back. Uncle Lonnie pull up in the house. Hey, what y'all doing? Come in here, check on y'all, yada, yada, yada. He checking on Edie and, little Wino, and he see that instrument. He said, let me see you play that. Do something with it. Little Wino can't do nothing with it. He said, give it here. He said, no, this mine. No, I can't let nobody use it. He said, man, I don't hear that shit. Give me that shit. He says, here, uncle. His Uncle Lonnie take the saxophone. I never forget. That nigga bust down the Pink Panther. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. Hey, listen, we was pumped. We was like, whoa! We kids. He walked in. This is a straight gangster. Walking in with the white t-shirt, the chucks pulled, jumping out the Cadillac with the music bumping. 6'2", 6'3", cut up, big nigga. All his uncles are big niggas. Little Wino's just a little nigga. He like me. Me and him, we little niggas. But his Uncle Lonnie, he bust his, listen. Da-dun, 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 da. Y'all know how it go. Shout out to Uncle Lonnie wherever he at. This is the end of Curve Servers. The Tales of Little Wino. Episode 6. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, Daddy, I wanna tell you, please get out of my sight. I'm playing quits now, right from this very night. You've had your day. Don't sit around and frown. You've been a good old wagon, Daddy, but you done broke down. Now you better go to the blacksmith shop and get yourself overhauled. There's nothing about you to make a good woman fall. Nobody wants a baby